Well, it is now 7 o'clock. It's my pleasure to open our evening's webinar. Mary, I'm going to open it up to you, please, for some opening and welcoming remarks.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. And it's a real pleasure to have everyone here this evening. It's great to see over 120 people registered for the evening's webinar. So really pleased that you could make some time this evening to be with us. We are so pumped about learning more about attracting members to our clubs and retaining members to our clubs. It was a great opportunity for me to be in Sylvan Lake today with the Rotary Club there, and to hear that they've attracted over 4 members this Rotary year alone to their club membership. So big shout out to everybody from Sylvan Lake for the huge work that they're doing in increasing their club membership so far this year. It's just exciting to see. We talk a lot about the buzz in the room, and we associate that with a vibrant club and a very positive environment, inclusive environment. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we're all about, is creating that diverse community that's just welcoming and inclusive to all individuals who want to be part of our Rotary family. So really thrilled to have Neil and Corey with us this evening. So for those of you who are not familiar with these two gentlemen, Neil Berg is our chair of our membership committee in our district, and Corey Tretiak is the chair of the subcommittee for new clubs in our district. So I'd just like to welcome Neil and Corey and pass the evening over to them. So welcome, gentlemen.
Before we start, just to remind everybody, your audio and video are not on as you're on a webinar tonight. We'll be monitoring the Q&A. We also get a printout of that at the end of the evening. So we've agreed with Corey and Neil that we will use a kind of an interactive method of talking things over as things come up during the evening. So feel free to use the Q&A for the business portion and the chat to kind of tease each other in the Rotary family. So before we start, I'd like to welcome Neil Berg. I've known Neil for a number of years now. Neil first joined the Rotary Club of Red Deer back in '89, served as club president in '98 and again in 2007, was on the district board in 13-14, served as assistant governor from 11 to 14, was our district governor in 16-17, and as Mary said, currently co-chair with the membership committee. His Vanna White, able assistant tonight, is a fine young fellow, Corey. I met him a few years ago and we've stayed in touch ever since. Joined Rotaract in 2006, joined Rotary 2016, president of the Rotary Club of Airdrie in 2017, chair of the new club subcommittee, currently a member of Rotary Club of Calgary West, and works the co-chair, again, in a subcommittee capacity to Neil's work. So gentlemen, I'm going to turn it over, and Corey, you can share screen, and we're underway. We'll talk later.
Cool, thank you very much. Thank you for attending, Mary. Good to see you, and Director Brian, absolutely. Just one clarification, Corey is not my Vanna. He is absolutely the co-president of the district membership committee, and he also has responsibilities for new members as well. So thank you everybody for coming. We hope that this hour is going to be a decent investment, that it's going to be worthwhile, that you'll see that it's a worthwhile use of your time and energy tonight. As Brian mentioned, we're in broadcast mode, so if you have a question or a comment, put it in the Q&A and or the chat box. Corey's going to be monitoring that, as well as adding some color commentary to what goes on to the play-by-play here as we go along. Our goal really is to impart some of what we've learned to help you clubs be more vibrant and to grow, and also to identify some of the traps that you might want to avoid. Now, let me be clear. Nobody's telling you what you have to do. If you don't want to be a vibrant, growing, vital, relevant club in your community, that's cool. Nobody at the district or RI is going to tell you different. But if you do want to do that, then we've got some things that we would like to impart. Now, membership attraction and retention. Language is important. And that's why we named this attraction, membership attraction, as opposed to recruitment. You know, if I honestly believe that if everybody in our respective communities knew all of the good things that we do as Rotarians and the fun that we have doing it, we'd have to sell tickets at the door. So, you know, does membership even matter? You know, if you're like Corey and I, and you think, yes, it matters, then here's what we think about that. One of the reasons that it matters is that membership is tied to vibrancy. And that's how vibrant a club is and how vibrant a club can be. We're going to get into a little more particular definition of what that is in a few minutes. So just hold that word in your mind for a minute, the vibrant club. Membership is a lagging indicator. So what we mean by that is it's the result of our successful projects, the fellowship, the communications, internal and external, and the professional development of our members, of our membership as well. And when we do all of that right, then membership grows and becomes more vibrant. It also allows more hands to do the work. It allows us to do more projects and to do more in our communities and internationally. It allows us to be more relevant, to expand and deepen our reach in our respective communities. And fifthly, I think that it's, you know, there's two major reasons that people join Rotary and stay in Rotary. Survey after survey have borne this out. And if you think you know what those two areas are, why do people join Rotary and why do they stay in Rotary? What are the two things that consistently are answered by 80 to 90% of the Rotarians? Put your answers in the chat box if you think you know what you mean. Service and fellowship. That's, you know, absolutely, Margie. That's right. That it's fellowship, and it's doing projects in your local community and fellowship. Now there's different synonyms. Dan, past district governor Dan, a cinnamon is not a type of bun. It's a word that means the same kind of thing. Fellowship, you can also use the word friendship, or you can use the word networking. And I say yes, networking. Back when August and Paul Harris started Rotary in 1905, it was for networking, and it's still the case today. So what do we mean by vibrancy? What does a vibrant club look like? First of all, it begins with a shared purpose. By that I mean, what we mean is it's agreement as to what our priorities are going to be as a club. And it often starts with an action plan, or what the professionals call a strategic plan. It also involves a cognitive diversity. I just made that up. And tolerance for everyone who might not think the same way that we do. I mean, God forbid, can you imagine a club of 30 to 45 Neil Bergs and Dan Dohertys? Scary thought. Often heard is and referred to as the decibel level. The decibel level is so high, this must be a Rotary meeting. So that's the buzz that we really want to be there, even when it's at 7 a.m. on a January morning. And we're also supporting each other. Now, circling back to the shared purpose, a vibrant club also has an accountable plan. The first operative word in that term is accountable, which means that it can be measured. And it is measured and is reported and communicated back to the club. The second word there is the plan. And it's a plan. It's not a dream. It's not a wish. There are long-term goals that are developed by medium-term strategies and short-term tactics as you drive towards your goals. Collaboration is, and to my way of thinking, is an often overused weasel word. But here's an example. Cooperating and working with the city or the Lions Club or another Rotary Club on the other side of the world to achieve a particular set of goals that you want to do. That's what we think of as collaboration. And you know, Rotary International's portfolio, our polio eradication initiative, is one of our biggest corporate collaborations, because it started in the 1970s, and it's a collaboration with world governments, private and public foundations, and global health agencies. Corey, anything you'd like to add to what we've said there?
You're really nailing this, Neil. I think to kind of sum up this slide is that everybody needs to be pulling in the same direction, and there has to be enough social capital between members, but also a way for people to have their say. You'll see later in the slides where we talk about our exit survey, people felt really disengaged with Rotary when they couldn't see themselves in their own club. Either they didn't have a method to engage in the projects that were interesting to them, or they didn't have a way to feel like they were being heard. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Cool. Okay. Thanks, Corey. So we're going to start with a few tools for club membership. Okay. And we're going to identify 3 of them that you might want to consider. First is it's just club survey. When you can build your own. Corey and I have templates that you can use. There's many clubs that have developed templates to, what's the word I'm looking for? Take the temperature of the room to see where people are, what people are thinking, and where they want to go. And I'll give you an example of something that you can Google tonight and start tomorrow or next week, and that is the Rotary Club Health Check. 6 sections. It's kind of laid out like a visit to the doctor, where they answer a few questions, come up with a prognosis, and then there's a diagnosis or what we should be doing about it. And so that's a real good place to start. Second thing I'm going to talk about is a membership growth index. Now there's 2 big tools here. We haven't got a lot of time to go into them real deeply, but the membership growth index is an initiative that the zone has put together, and we can thank zone coordinator Dan Doherty for bringing that to us. And it's a way to measure attraction and attrition of club by club. The third thing is the levers of change scorecard, and I'll get to that in a second. So if we could just go to the next picture here, and you can see this is the first page of the membership growth index tool, MGI, because we need more acronyms in Rotary, right? The MGI index for our district to the end of 2020. So you can see that here, if you look at the Cochrane, for instance, go along the top line here, the average attraction rate is 37%. The average attrition rate is 7%. So what do I mean by attrition? It's the reciprocal of retention. So out of 100 people, if we have an attrition of 7, we have a retention of 93. I think that adds to 100, doesn't it, Corey? Yeah, forgive me, I'm not very good with numbers. So every club's different, right? Every club's got a different experience in the last few years. One of the things we can tell you is that for the district, our attraction rate is 13%, 13.4%, but our which doesn't sound too bad. I mean, that means that over 5 years, we should have darn near doubled the membership of the district. However, our attrition was 17%, 17.6%. So we only kept 83% of our members. So you can see when attrition is greater than the attraction, we're shrinking. And in fact, out of the clubs, 48 clubs that we've got in the district, about a quarter of the clubs are growing. About 10% are kind of holding their own, and 2/3 of the clubs are shrinking or going backwards. If any club member wants Corey and I, and probably Dan as well, to consult with you specifically about what the trends are in your club, you may have kind of a general idea of what you're going, but you know, we've got a tool here to get down to some specifics, and so we would really like to offer to do some one-on-one club consulting, if that's something that you think that you would like to take advantage of. So the next is the levers of change scorecard, and this is a means of quantifying and measuring your own club's success for a given set of priorities. So what we've done here is we've just given you an example here. Here's a club who has decided that they've got 5 priorities. That's the 5 on the top line: the number of members, the amount of fundraising on average per month, the number of community projects, the average age of their members, and the number of guests that come to their meetings each month. And so you can see here what their stretch goal is: 30 members. For instance, their baseline is 24 members. Worst case is less than that. I can't see what that number is, but each one of them, then and if they hit 24, their baseline, then they give themselves a 4. They've also weighted the different priorities. So their 2 biggest priorities at 25% out of the 100 are the number of members and the amount of fundraising per month. Next would be the number of community service projects and the number of guests at 20%. Age of Rotarians at 10%. And it's the kind of, you can go through the arithmetic there and see that you come up with a particular score. So this is this is a snapshot for 1 month. Like, how did this club do in a particular month? Well, they got 475 points. What the heck does that mean? It means nothing unless you compare it to what their score was the month before, or the month after, or the quarter after, etc. So here's a track. You can track this index over time. So you see this particular club started out at 400, went down a bit in August, back up in September, and they're rocking and rolling in October. So this is it's an accountable means of quantifying your progress. So circle back to what Corey and I were talking about in a vibrant plan. I mean, this is a vehicle to instill the accountability for that plan. If you would like, sorry, yeah, go ahead, Corey.
Sorry. I think it's, yeah, like Neil said, it's important that, you're not in competition with other clubs. This is a tool to measure your performance year over year, month over. Obviously, some clubs like Stampede Park, for instance, they have their dream homes surrounding their dream home lottery surrounding the Calgary Stampede. That month is going to look a lot better, a lot higher in terms of fundraising than the others. So once we start to collect this data, we're better able to understand where our club is, and let's go.
Zone coordinator Dan Doherty has brought these tools to us, and we would love to be able to work with some clubs who want to try these things. So let us know. Get in touch with us. We would love to maybe put some of these things into place. You know, we're here to help. You know, one of the things that I didn't mention up front at the very top of this is that the basic unit of Rotary is the club and the members of that club and the district and the zone and Rotary International. The only reason that they're there is to support what's going on in your clubs. Full stop. And everybody at the district and at RI fully believes that as well. So if we can help you become the type of club and do the things that you want to do in your community, then we're here to do what we can to help. Okay. Anything you'd add to that, Corey?
Maybe just drive that point home is that we're not here to tell you what to do. We need you to say, we need help with this, this, and this, and we're there for you. We've got a committee full of talented people, and that's what we're here to do. But it starts with sending an email or getting in contact with us so we can patch that support to your club.
Neil, Dan Doherty is writing here. I'd love to work with a couple of clubs in our district to test the levers of change.
Perfect.
So there's that. There's the corollary to your offer to lend a helping hand.
There's the offer. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, absolutely. You know, our feeling is that this can really be something that can be useful to clubs to move them in the direction of what they ultimately want to be. Yeah, thanks for that, Dan, and look forward to hearing from clubs as we take this up. Cool. So we talked a little bit about how language is important. So we're using the word attraction versus recruitment. Recruitment has kind of a military tone to it that I don't think fits in Rotary. Language is important in everything that we do in our communication within our clubs and outside of our clubs as well. So what we're trying to do is attract like-minded, like-spirited men and women to join us in our mission to make this a better world and make our communities as good as they can. So here's a couple of tools that we have identified that can help with attraction. You may be aware when you go into Rotary.org, wait a minute, everybody here has gone into Rotary.org, haven't you? You've got a Rotary Club Central account, right? Nod your head. Yes, you do. Okay. But somebody can come in and they say you hear about Rotary. Well, what's the first thing you do when you hear about Rotary? You Google it. So you can go into a non-Rotarian can go into Google and there's a button right on the first page that says, I'm interested, like, give me some more information. And in our district, we get on average about 2 to 3 leads per month just from there. There has not been a lot of, and Pat Kaloran is our membership committee member in Lethbridge, who is coordinating that and handling the traffic on that. But you know, every month there's a few leads that come from that, and they end up being Rotarians. So this is part of my answer to those Rotarians who say Rotary should be doing more to generate leads and generate new members for us. Well, they're doing what they can, Rotary.org. The second big tool really is invitations. You know, these are the guests that we saw. Remember back on the levers of change scorecard, the number of guests. Well, they had to be invited to be there. Most Rotarians that I've talked to over the couple of decades that I've been a Rotarian, how did they come to Rotary? They were invited by somebody who respected them and they wanted to be in there. So that's probably the biggest source of new prospects, is inviting people that you respect and that you think would be good Rotarian, good for your club. I'm going to talk a little bit about onboarding in a few minutes, but right here I'm going to talk about pre-onboarding, and that is when we have guests and prospects. Do we make sure that they're welcomed? Do we make sure that they feel like they fit in? That when they're in a room that may, I can see hanging out. I can see being in this group. There's a club that I know who assigns every week. They assign one Rotarian to look after any guests that come, to make sure that they're welcomed, to make sure that they're introduced to other Rotarians, to make sure back in the pre-COVID house arrest days that they understood what the protocol was for getting dinner at the buffet table, etc. They sit with them at the meetings and explain to them what the heck all their acronyms might mean, etc. So is that something that your club could do to make sure that a new guest or a visitor feels welcome? The next thing that Corey, go ahead.
Sorry, I think that not only making sure they're welcome, but taking the time to understand their motivations for joining a service club. There's a lot of options, and understanding their motivations are key to making sure they find a good fit in your club.
Yeah, for sure. Rotary 101 is a program that we've talked about for a number of years, and it tries to overcome the barrier or bridges the gap in knowledge about Rotary. And this can be used just in the club. I know one club who was actually doing a Rotary 101 just for their club, because that particular club has some long and colorful history. We're developing this for the district, and I think that any club might be able to do this with respect to imparting information about Rotary to prospects and to potential members. So what are the growing clubs that we've got? What are they doing? Well, first of all, they're welcoming the new introductions and the new prospects that come in. So oftentimes the prospects, now just a word of warning here, often prospects are just wanting to check us out, right? They're wanting to date for a time or two. They're not wanting to be asked to be married the first time we make eye contact. So that's something to keep in mind. Let them kind of warm up to us. At least one of the clubs in our district, and a couple of clubs have used the idea of satellite clubs, and it's kind of like, Corey, could I call this kind of a farm club? Usually newer people, put your toe in the water. Cochrane, tell us about what's up with the Cochrane Satellite Club.
Yeah, I'd say they're kind of the opposite of maybe if you picture the farm as you're growing something that will stand alone, but not a farm team in terms of hockey. I guess I'll be the first to share. Cochrane has chartered almost a year ago now a satellite club called the Young Professionals Satellite Club. And just yesterday, Martin, Ryan, and Stephen and I met. They're going to be pursuing their charter. So the way I think that we can look at satellite clubs is they're a club that might not have all of the pieces to charter. They want to mentor under experienced Rotarians. They want to kind of define what impact they'd like to have in their community. And it's really a trial basis. Some satellite club members may join the parent club, but it's really an opportunity to test Rotary out and see if it's a good opportunity. So in Cochrane, the Young Professionals Club will be the second club there, and they're really partners in service. They'll meet at different times and attract different people, but it's a net win for Cochrane and a net win for Rotary, where wherever you are in the district, there's an opportunity, or wherever you are in the district and whoever you are in the district, there's an opportunity for you to serve through Rotary.
Perfect. Well said. There's some specific do's and don'ts with respect to satellite clubs, and so let Corey and I know if that's something that your club would like to explore. We've got some framework and some ideas that might help you get on the road. Back in 2016, we gained an awful lot of flexibility in membership. The types of membership that we've got. So RI will always have only the active members and honorary members. That's it. But your club could have a corporate membership, could have a family or a joint membership, or an associate membership. A joint membership might be, a family membership might be spouse A pays the full dues, and spouse and his or her spouse then pays a discounted amount of the club's portion of the dues, as an example. There, so like, be aware of these things. We have the flexibility, and some of these things might be something that would either attract or retain a member. And the district has made some concessions as well on district dues. For different categories of members. Growing clubs also are active clubs. They've got a lot of things going on to make them relevant and meaningful in their projects and in their communities. I saw an email from the Rotary Club in Manila. It's a sister club of my club, Red Deer East, and going through the list of all the things that they've done since July the 1st, I had to read back to see is this the number of projects they've done over the last 5 years? No, this was 6 months. So there's a lot that can be done to make your club relevant. Fit versus fill. This is an interesting concept to me. This applies to new member prospects. So I'll give you an example. There was a club where the president-elect basically did the fuller brush salesman route. Some of you are too young to remember what fuller brush salesman means. Went door to door and signed up just about everybody you could fog a mirror. And their club grew from 40 to 70. And then in 18 months was back to 30. And so that's what fit versus fill meant there. So are these people that really want to be there, or are you just signing them up? Fit versus fill also applies to roles within the club. I use the example, some of you are tired of hearing this example, the chartered professional accountant joins Rotary, and of course, he can be our treasurer. Well, he might not want to, he works with numbers and spreadsheets and gazintas all day long. Maybe his or her passion is youth exchange. And if we try to shoehorn them into being the treasurer, he might not last that long. So that's what we mean by fit versus fill.
I think this is one of the most important points in our entire presentation, Neil. Rotary needs to it needs to be fair to all concerned. So if we're finding someone just to fill a role that we need filled without taking into account what they need and want to get out of Rotary, they might join for a year, but they won't be here for the long term.
Yeah, cool. And it's the longer term that we're really interested in. So, right now we've got one of the easiest ways that we'll ever have to invite people to our Rotary meetings if we're doing this, at least if not wholly, at least partly by Zoom. How easy is it to bring somebody to just log in rather than having to go pick them up and take them across town, etc. So take advantage of this. Hopefully we'll be out of COVID jail before too long, and we won't have the opportunity that we've got right now. Anything else on that, Corey?
Doing a great job.
So what are we doing? What are we talking about with the retention? Well, it's the reciprocal of attrition. How many of the 100 Rotarians that we've got do we keep from year to year? And so now that we're attracting new Rotarians in the front door, what can we do to keep them from leaving out the back door? So back about 3 years ago, District Governor Dan and a couple of us did an exit survey. So we surveyed the ex-Rotarians, the Rotarians who had left in the last, gosh, Dan, was it the last 3 or 4 years? It was a pretty big number. And then in November of 2020, Corey and I did, mainly Corey, did the exit survey for the last 2 years. And so what did we learn from those surveys? You know, it was interesting that the results from Dan's exit survey weren't really all that different than what the results were from Corey's survey. And we all heard last week that the district to the north of us, 5370, had done it, and some of their numbers were, some of their results were actually pretty similar. So one of the first things was like, we confirmed again the top reasons that people join and stay, right? The community projects and the fellowship. No surprise there. So here's the point to that. If we're not getting this done, if we're not doing community projects and fellowship, 80 or 90% of your Rotarians are saying that's the reason that they're there. If we're not doing it, then maybe they don't have a reason to stick around. One of the other things that we heard, and Corey heard because he talked to more of these people individually as well, is that I didn't find that I didn't fit in. I wasn't listened to. And so here's a framework that we think might work. Is your case, is your club in this situation where you're saying, come and tell us what it is that's important to you and what you want to do? Or conversely, this is what we do and you can come and do what we do if you want to. In which of those cases are we going to attract members and retain members? One of the other things that we realized in there that there's kind of three broad categories of Rotarians that we were losing. There was the brand new ones. There was a surprising number of Rotarians that didn't last 2 years. Every club's a little different, but I think you need to ask yourself why. Is it expectations? Is it a lack of communication to begin with? What is that? But and then there's another jag between 2 years and 5 years. We lose a lot of our new members that we've attracted. There's another cohort, and that's the Rotarians that have got 10 or more years of tenure. And that's interesting in that, is it the case that some of those Rotarians were not engaged or more likely became disengaged? Is it the case that we can maybe use them as mentors in a mentorship role? And the other group that the other category is members in their kind of mid to late career. the people that are in the prime of their engagement and energy life. And it's a shame to not be taken advantage of. It's a shame to be losing that potential and that energy. Another thing that that was identified as what they liked least. Okay, now these are the things that drove people away. So we're saying these are the things that maybe these are the things that we need to look at. Past District Governor Dan, who was a professor, a business prof, will tell you that it's well known in the business world that culture eats strategy for breakfast. I think I got that right, Dan. And we would argue that that's also the case for Rotary. That the three most important things in your Rotary Club is culture. Number two is culture. And put in the chat now what you think the third one might be. Yeah, culture, right? So and clicks. The ex-Rotarian that said I didn't feel like I fit in, is it because that they couldn't they didn't fit into the particular clique that was there? Who knows? And that's something to be on the lookout for. There's a perception of a top-down kind of authoritarian control. Is that because of a lack of training, a lack of communication in the board, in the executive? Maybe something to think about. But we've always done it this way. God, how many? I wish I had a nickel for every time I've heard that. And then the term that really wraps up all of these things is a fixed, a fixed mindset. What's the antithesis of a fixed mindset? Is a flexible mindset. So flexibility is something that we've got in some of our physical structures, as well as like our membership types, like our ability to have venues or flexible meeting times, flexibility in the things that we do that we want to do in our community, and that's what's probably going to attract a broader perspective of Rotarians. So, some of you heard me rattle on about this. This is a kind of a big thing to me is retention. So I'm going to identify the 4 keys to retention. And it really starts with a robust onboarding and mentorship program. So what do I mean by onboarding? Well, we mentioned a few minutes ago about starting right with a proper, warm welcoming of guests and visitors. It also then involves communication of club information and expectations for this new Rotarian as well. A personal induction. So when you've got a new Rotarian to induct, I'm going to make a couple of suggestions. And one is that you invite their family, because family's important. Every dollar that we give to Rotary is a dollar that we haven't got for our family. Every hour that we give our time to Rotary is an hour that we haven't got to our family. So if our family is there with us at the induction process, they can see the value and how much it means to us, to what we're doing, and they're going to be more on side with that. The other thing about an induction, I would say too, is that please, District Governor Mary, I hope I'm not speaking out of school. I know that I'm not, but District Governor Mary would be happy to, if she's available, conduct an induction ceremony for a new Rotarian in your club. And so that lends some gravitas and some seriousness to the induction process as well. Who else can you lean on? For sure, the assistant governors as well. That's part of that's been identified as part of their role as well. And maybe maybe the people in the membership committee can. There's a number of people that can help you do this as well. Being in the know, that is so important. Oh, I'm sorry. One other thing that I wanted to mention with the onboarding is mentoring. Is there an opportunity for us to join up a tenured Rotarian to a new Rotarian that can be so they can sort of lead them through the process of learning about Rotary. So that's one thing, and you know, with mentoring, there's also this idea of the Corey calls it the color shape program. So you know what that is, about how the you might have a red dot or a green star for a new Rotarian, and you have to do 5 of 8 different ideas, different projects to lose your green star. And that might be things like attending a board meeting, or doing a makeup, or doing one of the courses on Rotary, on the Learning Center in Rotary. And then ultimately, as well, if they don't work, then do an exit survey. I mean, there's 2 things you're going to find out if you do it, and Corey and I can provide you with a template for doing an exit survey if somebody leaves your club. There's two things that you're going to learn. One is, what can we do to adjust so that we don't lose any more the same way? You know, is it us or is it you? And then the other thing is, you'll find out a little bit more about the fit. Maybe it's just not a fit for this club, but you know, in Red Deer, there's 3 more clubs. In Calgary, there's 12 other Rotary clubs. So maybe you can make a referral that way. Being in the know, you know, what are the different ways that we can communicate within our clubs? It's communication from the membership to the board, and then the board to the membership, whether that's in a weekly or monthly newsletter. You can attend Rotary Leadership Institute, in the past, district conference and RI convention. You know, we one thing that we've done in our club is we've done a lot of classification talks and redos of classification talks too, because then we're learning more about that Rotarian as well. There's documents on the Club Runner site, and there's all sorts of material in the Learning Center on Rotary.org. Skills and passions. This is how we identify fit. You know, it's for one thing that you can do here is gather some personal information for the induction ceremony. When somebody's inducted, I don't want to hear that Rotary has got 1.2 million members and 35,000 clubs and blah blah blah. I want to know what our new member Corey Trechak is all about. You know, what's his family like? What does he do for a living? What are his hobbies? I didn't know that you were a pilot and a skydiver, Corey. And all of those personal things are potential links to somebody else in the club as well. Engagement is huge. This is a big rabbit hole, and it's actually one of the things that we might follow up with and do kind of a full session just on engagement. Well, some of the things there are, does everybody in your club understand what your club's expectations are for attendance and for doing projects or contributing to the Rotary Foundation? How does your club measure engagement of the members? President-elect Manon Mitchell from the Rotary Club of Calgary Downtown has got a really neat project going where they're doing an objective measuring, again, an accountable measuring of each Rotarian's engagement in about 4 or 5 different areas. Those members that are perhaps not as engaged as they could be, or as engaged as they once were, then can be followed up, and it's basically circling back to finding out, making sure that Rotarian is in the know with what's available, and identifying the skills and passions so you can find an area of engagement for that particular Rotarian has become disengaged. Anything to add to that, Corey?
Something that you may have noticed by now is that most of our slides all relate back to the key point of vibrant clubs, an accountable plan that's clearly communicated and brings everyone along. So I think if you want to keep members, make sure you have that. If you want to attract members, make sure you have that. And I guess just a comment is that something we need to be aware of. We still have a lot of people who talk about Rotary back in the day when attendance was mandatory. That was one way of ensuring and controlling engagement, making sure that everybody was there. And now with Zoom, we've got another hurdle. So making sure that we're getting eyes on our members and making sure that they're doing okay and they know that we care about them is really key, especially in this time. Neil, just we're running short on time. We've got to
your comment about social capital and supporting each other, absolutely. This is not rocket surgery. So what are the growing clubs doing? One of the things is that we've got a fellowship of 20 minutes or 30 minutes prior to a meeting. Maybe it's in a breakout room where people can get their fellowship networking fix, as it were. The second thing is the friendship committees. Now, I've heard different labels for this. The outreach committee or the courtesy committee. Corey, we haven't seen your shining face on the Hollywood Squares screen for the last couple of weeks. Just want to check in, make sure everything's cool. What's up with you, man?
After the exit survey went out, we invited people to meet with us and to share their opinions, why they left Rotary, and to solve any lingering issues if they existed. And we got a nugget from one of our meetings that I think is really important. When we're dealing with our members, especially those who are engaged, I can't either reveal her name or remember it, but she said their friendship committee, they call, and if somebody doesn't return their call, they call again, and they just want to make sure that person knows that they're thinking of them. And there's a pretty sad story attached to the reason why they do that. But I think that's a really important part, is that, calling a few times and not getting a hold of them is not as impactful as making sure that you keep contacting them until they show their face, so to speak.
Show you care and support each other. Yeah, absolutely. The third thing, right? Can you hear me? Joe, you're on mute. Can everybody please mute themselves? Those are 3 questions that am tired of for 2020. Don't want to hear it again. The mentorships, we talked about the mentorship thing a little bit. There's a lot of potential here, bringing together the newbies and the tenured Rotarians. The color shape program, I've mentioned that. The other thing is that the district has a speakers bureau for really good speakers, interesting. And so you get an interesting speaker, and it also gives you a good reason to invite somebody that you think you'd like to. And the other thing is, if any of you have very good speakers that show up at your meetings, share that with us. Like, don't keep it a secret. We would love to be able to distribute that information. The fireside chat, it's partly for information, it's partly for igniting passion. So it might be something just on youth exchange, and it's something that your district membership committee is developing a template to do that on a regular basis through the year.
Neil, you're coming into your 3-minute closing time.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Flexibility, like once we get out of house arrest, can we go to Nova to find out how Rotarian Joe helps turn natural gas into shopping bags and vaccination vials? Can we have a meeting after touring the local pregnancy center, etc.? So I've talked enough. Let's any questions? Any questions of anybody out there?
Neil, if you want to have Corey go through the Q&A, just to take a couple, I'll hand it over to Mary for closing remarks, and then I'll do a little bit of front of house closing at the end.
Thanks, Brian. So quite a few people have asked about the tools. Some of the tools are not ready to deploy, but you'll be receiving a copy of these slides after the meeting if you haven't already. And we'll keep you posted on the deployment dates of MGI, the Membership Growth Index, and the Levers of Change scorecards. We just showed a sample of them today. As far as live meetings go, I don't know if there are any signs that we're returning to a live meeting before the fall. So there are really great Rotary resource groups on Facebook on how to run hybrid meetings, but also on how to make your meeting more engaging. But one of the best tips I've heard so far is that anyone can attend your meeting from anywhere in the world. I know that Kurt and Manel spoke at a meeting in Germany not a week ago. Yeah. So think bigger with your speakers. They don't have to be in Alberta. They could be in India or Australia. Some clubs have had really good success getting Rotary International past presidents to come speak to their club, and it's really not a huge time commitment. They don't have to commute.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Deer East, we had the RI Vice President Colleen Jones, Jennifer Jones, speak to us. That was really pretty cool.
Two great speaker ideas. Jennifer Jones and Valerie Wafer was just, I don't know her position, but, two Canadian women who are rising in the Rotary ranks. We should be very proud of that.
Director.
Well, gentlemen, we're going to call it an evening. I'm going to turn it over to Mary.
Come on, man.
Oh, come on, man.
I'm just starting to have fun.
You should have asked for extra time, Neil, but Mary, over to you.
Brian, can I sneak in one last word?
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah.
We're here to support you, but that starts with you reaching out to us. There's 50 clubs in our district, and the way that you let us know the way we identify which ones to work with is the ones who reach out to us. So don't be afraid to say hello. We're here to help.
Will do.
Well, I'm
Mary?
just going to close. Brian, thank you very much. I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, we've learned a lot. I think we've got a lot of resources now in our proverbial toolkit that Corey and Neil will make available to us as they are able. I think we've been gifted with an amazing opportunity in this time of pause. When we're no longer meeting face to face, it gives us a chance to look at our clubs, to look at our club cultures, and decide what we want to keep and what we want to let go when we come back together again. So I think we've been given an amazing opportunity. As we all know, the Rotary theme for this year, Rotary opens opportunities, and we have a gift right now to take a look at our club cultures, to make those critical changes, to have those conversations. We've got the tools from Neil and Corey, and Dan has also offered his services to the clubs. So please feel free to reach out. And Corey, I love your segue to Valerie Wafer. She is one of our key speakers at our district conference on May the 1st. So our opportunity to dialogue with her one-on-one is coming very soon. So again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming this evening. It's been great to have your participation, and let's stay in touch. Let's keep engaged, and let's do this some more, and have more opportunities for this kind of dialogue. Brian, I'll pass it back over to you, and my sincere thanks to the three of you gentlemen this evening for all the hard work that you do for our communities, for our district, and for Rotary. So thank you all.